Much as this property seems to be the center of gravity and is exhibiting the highest frequency of UFO activity and high strangeness, it covers the Uinta Basin. I mean, people out there have continued to have experiences. Even the oil and gas industry has had incidents occur relative to their sites out there, and there are a lot of professionals who have remained silent, have not wanted to go public, that are now finally reaching out to our team and letting their stories be told. These are firsthand accounts of activity that correlates with what we are seeing at Skinwalker Ranch.
Wow, this just continues to happen, just more and more.
Yeah, I think momentum's building. I mean, over the course of even this week, we revealed video taken of potentially what could be the first clear evidence of transmedium UAP, or transmedium, unidentified aerial phenomena that was captured coming down from the sky, dropping into the east field portion of the ranch, and then exiting right below the helicopter, caught on GoPro camera, exiting the mesa. There are countless events that have been documented, all involving an army of third-party professionals, experts, working in service to documenting and understanding the nature of what we are dealing with.
I mean, see, you got it in 2016. It started happening, I believe you said 6 months after the transaction.
Yeah, I personally had my UFO experience with multiple witnesses 6 months after acquiring the property, and we've progressed significantly since that time in terms of not only the scientific platforms, but also the amount of experts engaged. I mean, we've recently brought on as strategic partners Omnitech, led by CEO Jim Royston, who is the former executive director of the International Space Station National Lab. His partner and co-founder is retired 4-star General Lance Lord, former head of U.S. Space Command. Their team includes some of the most credentialed experts when it comes to sensor technology and data collection in a host of environments globally. I mean, these are platforms that have been deployed on the battlefield in a diversity of climates and environments that are now being brought to bear at Skinwalker Ranch and being deployed in service to understanding the nature of what we're doing. I don't know that has really sunk in with everyone. I mean, it's not just the fact that we brought the largest drone operating company in the country with Sky Elements to the table with over 200 drones for the drone experiment that resulted in what? Rapid battery depletion, GPS anomalies, all sorts of strange, never before experienced malfunctions, and then a UFO. I think a lot of people forget that a UFO ended up dropping out of the sky and appearing above 40 professionals.
Yeah.
Simultaneous with all of the drones malfunctioning. And then that UFO went back up into the sky and disappeared, didn't exit, was no longer seen, but it was clear as day to everyone present. You tell me, how hard would it be to get over 40 people to go on record with witnessing a UFO simultaneous with documenting rapid battery depletion, GPS anomalies, and a host of other strangeness? It's in my view, it's undeniable. I have a hard time understanding how people are skeptical when there is so much data.
They're not looking into it. They're not looking into it.
Well,
that's the only way.
Well,
after some of the things that you guys have documented and just plain as day, it's just, yeah. But going back a little bit, so after your experience, you immediately started putting together more of the team. You had
Right.
Eric Bard. Sounded like you had
Eric
Dragon.
Bard, principal investigator Jim Morse, who, by the way, was my first big developer client when I was 18 years old.
Oh, really?
Jim was developing the towers at Southtown, multiple Class A office towers, a hotel, restaurants, right in the middle of the Salt Lake suburban market. And at 18, I was fortunate to have the opportunity to work on his projects. And when I got home from my mission at age 21, picked right back up where we left off, and Jim hired me to essentially continue the final phases of that project. One thing about Jim that I learned in being his broker and his advisor was his love for the Native American community and his commitment to raise millions of dollars for scholarships and aid for the tribes is something that I grew to really respect over the years. Decades before acquiring Skinwalker Ranch or having any idea that we would come together under these circumstances. When I flew out to see the ranch for the first time, having Jim as an advisor and appointing him as ranch manager seemed like a natural fit due to his strong relationships and respect for the tribes, for the Native American people. So you have Jim Morse, Thomas Winterton, who we engaged, who is a respected contractor, entrepreneur out in the basin, hotel owner at the time. Eric Bard, principal investigator, plasma physicist with patents to his name, and incredible credentials. Dragon, Brian Arnold, my head of security. Caleb Bench, who is a retired Marine, also part-time with law enforcement, with the county sheriff's department out there, that has been given the latitude to work with us when he's not engaged with his law enforcement activities. We have a credentialed anthropologist, in fact, a published anthropologist in Candace Lindy, who is our ranch caretaker, along with Tom Lewis, technologists that reside there full time, and then a host of other experts and professionals that have collaborated with us. Yeah, everyone from LIDAR, photogrammetry technicians, instrumented balloon and rocket professionals, to ground penetrating radar, and even environmental consultants in testing the property to help us understand whether we're dealing with something that still could be naturally impacted or affected.
How did Dr. Travis Taylor come on scene?
When it was funny, Travis Taylor was recommended by the History Channel.
Okay.
As a credentialed physicist that could come in and ask the hard questions and drive the team. Let me take you back in time. Following my own UFO experience in October 2016 and the months following, we ramped up the investigation aggressively with our team. We started consulting with other advisors, even staying in touch with the former scientists that had worked on the program in order to inform them what we were seeing and ask for any insight that they could render. By 2018, the command center had been taking documentation, had been, utilized with all of the camera surveillance, the sensors that we had in place, the FLIR camera system that we have deployed to monitor changes in the environment that are potentially unusual. And then one day I received a call from Washington, D.C. This is when my identity was still confidential, secret as owner. So I was surprised to receive the call, and the call was to come to Washington to provide a briefing, an update relative to my ownership and stewardship in follow-up to the activities of the previous owner. We flew out to D.C. and we're happy to provide a briefing and update them on the reality of what was happening at the ranch. Again, UFO activity, acute medical episodes, especially multiple acute medical episodes that had occurred along with those reports. The electromagnetic anomalies that had been carefully documented, and some of the other strangeness that defied any conventional explanation. About that time, I was also receiving calls through Jim Morse and Thomas Winterton from producers of the History Channel wanting to meet with the owner to discuss a docuseries, the ability to come in and document the events occurring on this piece of property. Word was starting to get out that there was an ongoing investigation. There were photos that were leaked online that showed that there was a security presence there and that there was a very sophisticated effort. And producers of the History Channel were hell-bent on getting an audience with whoever this mysterious owner was in order to pitch the opportunity to have a docuseries effort that would record and document what was happening on a day-to-day basis. They reached out for over a year. So for over a year, on a weekly basis, I was being hounded by my people to at least consider potentially responding to the phone calls. And after a year, I reluctantly agreed to the meeting, subject to a confidentiality agreement being signed by everyone. Producers flew in. We had a discussion. I said, number one, condition. If I were to consider this, number one, it has to be true. Nothing can be faked, manipulated, or contrived. I have no interest in being part of some ghost hunters type effort with a bunch of guys tripping over themselves in the dark with night vision. This has to be true. And I have to have final cut on everything if we were to do anything. Number two, you have to use my team. We're not having any Hollywood casting call. We're not bringing in individuals from the outside that could potentially compromise the integrity of the scientific investigation that I've been privately funding to the tune of millions of dollars up until that point. And number three was that my identity needed to remain confidential. I had no interest in being on television. I didn't want my name associated with it. Again, even my family at the time had no idea that I owned the ranch, along with business partners and others.
Why were you so hell-bent on everything being confidential?
I did not want my ownership of this property or the topics associated with Skinwalker Ranch to in any way divert from or compromise or undermine my professional endeavors, my commercial real estate practice, and other entrepreneurial activity. As chairman of the largest commercial real estate enterprise in the Intermountain West, representing Fortune 500 companies and working closely with the governor's office and other agencies, I did not want this project with Skinwalker Ranch to in any way detract from the decades of work to serve clients and to transform the skylines of our communities. I felt a great responsibility to my clients, and I didn't know if it would be taken well by my clients. I didn't know how people would react, and I had no interest. I didn't want any attention, and wanted to fiercely protect the professional side of my life, and didn't want these two worlds to collide. Well, it was funny. The The gentleman I met with at the time, Kevin Burns, who was the president of Prometheus Entertainment, who is kind of the number one production company for History Channel at the time. I mean, of course, he's the creator of Ancient Aliens, The Curse of Oak Island, Beyond Oak Island, The Unexplained with William Shatner. You know, it launched a series on Netflix, Lost in Space, big budget sci-fi epic. He's a genius. He's a very talented producer. Looked at me and he said, look, you talk about integrity. You want the truth to get out there. You're an experiencer. Yet you aren't willing to put your name behind this. How are people going to believe the truth? How are they going to believe the authenticity and genuine nature of what you're doing if you yourself aren't willing to go public as part of this effort? And he had a point. He essentially Jedi mind tricked me into agreeing to go public. I told him, I said, you know, this is going to turn my world upside down.
That's
You understand?
That's a hell of a gamble on your part.
Yeah. And it's a greater liability. No one understands what a liability this is. I have yet to take a penny personally relative to these efforts. I've never opened a bank account for Adamantium Real Estate, for the entity that controls the ranch. I have purposely donated, assigned any proceeds that would be due to me to other causes, you know, from scholarships, you know, to cancer research. I have no interest in taking a penny relative to this endeavor. And
So
I
all
really
profit coming to you from this show
No.
goes to charity.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Charity and other efforts. I mean, we have used some funds in order to help bolster the infrastructure that have gone to vendors, but no money, not one penny has made its way into my pocket personally.